Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a quick unboxing and first look at the Samsung Spin 7 notebook. Now this has been on the market for a while. This has actually already been opened. It was a gift, so I just wanted to share it with all of you. This is something I'm going to also review, benchmark up against specifically the Lenovo Yoga C740 because it is a two-in-one. I think Samsung makes solid laptops. They don't make many. They're not trying to do what big box manufacturers do, but they're trying to get things right. And this is fairly popular as a budget two-in-one, a little bit dated in terms of the look, but the feel and capability is not. So under the hood, we've got a Core i5. This is the 8th gen from Intel, so it's the 8250U, which I'd like to see something newer, but you got to remember this has been out for a while. It retails for roughly $600 US. 13.3-inch Full HD touch display. It's one of Samsung's own panels, 8 gigs of RAM, and a 512 gig SSD. So pretty competent specs, expensive for what it is, and as I said, this has already been opened, but wanted to just share with all of you what it essentially looks like. So the power brick, pretty small, which I actually happen to like. Too many bricks these days are still fairly large. This is not a Type-C, so keep that in mind. This does have a Type-C port on it that I believe it can charge from. Let's go ahead and get it out of the box. And I mean, I've seen this already, obviously, but again, for anyone who hasn't, I thought it would be instructive in terms of knowing what the Spin has to offer. And I will be doing a full review of this if it's something that all of you are interested in. I got a lot of laptops in-house right now between this, the Yoga C740, and then, of course, the VAIO lineup. So silver finish on this. Excuse any fingerprints or dust. I'll try to give it a wipe here. And I do happen to like the finish on this machine. I like that it has like a soft touch bottom, as weird as that sounds, allowed. And just overall, it's a nice looking laptop. Let me just pop it open. So essentially a little bit of dirt there on the display, some fingerprints, but I just wanted to show you. So the keyboard itself, I think, is fairly straightforward. Every keyboard has pros and cons. We have backlighting. We have a fairly large trackpad. The display that Sammy uses, I think, is actually one of the better ones in its class because generally when you buy these budget-friendly two-in-ones, or even, laptops, doesn't have to be a two-in-one, you're getting just a typical China IPS panel, if even. Brightness level on this is fairly competent for its class and pricing, and I think that's important when you take into account that budget machines generally aren't going to deliver that much on the display end of things. But the Spin, it's due for a refresh. They have the Notebook 9 as well. That's their more premium, that is targeted at higher end, over $1,000 laptops. When this originally launched, it was about a $900 machine, but that's going back more than a year. So you still have bezels. You have things that have been narrowed that are now at around the 90% screen to body ratio. Here we don't have that, but you still have a competent Ultrabook two-in-one that isn't priced to break the bank, and it is wearing a name that is fairly household. And also, when it comes to quality control, that's one thing where I could give Samsung the nod. I see a lot less complaints about Samsung based products than I do from manufacturers like Lenovo, HP, Dell, but also part of that is that they're just not making the volume of machines that those manufacturers are. In terms of ports, just a quick rundown: power button on the right side, Type A USB port. We have some LED indicators. We do have a little notch on the front in order to open it up, which is fairly standard. And then we have our power port right there, HDMI. That is a full-size port. Another way that you could tell this machine's a little bit older, because most Ultrabooks do not have full-size HDMI. Type A, Type-C, and headphone. Type-C is not a Thunderbolt 3 port, for those of you that are wondering. This is merely for display, data, charging, those things. So if you don't have the included proprietary charger that I showed you right here, you could just use a 65-watt Type-C charger. That will work as well. I have not really tested it. I've played with it for a few minutes, so I already have some impressions. That's what I've relayed through the course of this video. I will give you full impressions again and compare this specifically to the C740, since that's what it pretty much directly takes aim at, even though it doesn't have a 10th gen chip. And again, I believe this and the C740 are, if you're budget oriented or focused right now, these should be at the top of your list in terms of quality, overall build, battery life, and panel quality too. Not just the build, but you don't want to be looking at a crappy screen just because you have 10 hours of battery life. That doesn't mean you should be tortured through those 10 hours that you're going to share with an Ultrabook like this. A little over 3 pounds, that's another way this 13.3-inch Ultrabook does tell its age. Lately, most Ultrabooks in this class are a little bit under 3 pounds or closer to 3. This is about 3.25. But I think Samsung did a pretty good job with this machine, because here it is in 2020, still alive and kicking, still for sale through traditional retail channels, where any other machine by any other name would be discontinued or on clearance through Woot or Groupon. So that pretty much tells you what you need to know about the Samsung Spin 7. I will be giving you all an update. Let me spend some time with this. I've got, as I said, now 4 laptops in-house simultaneously. Still love my HP Spectre X360 13T. Tough machine to knock off the block until HP does something to knock it off. But that's where things stand. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them, hit that like button, and as usual, please feel free to subscribe. Later.